up, y'all? Ooh, it's a glare. It's Dominique, aka that therapist, lead clinician, and CEO for a group practice known as Yellow Bird Counseling. Okay. And for those of you that don't know me, what we do is we facilitate live discussions every Thursday evening to help the general public understand how we can all benefit from having a therapist in the effort to break the stigma surrounding mental health, mental illness. Because as I say every week, people think, oh, you only go to therapy if something's wrong with you. And that is just absolutely not true. If you live in a world around people and circumstances that you can't control, it would benefit you to have a therapist to help navigate things that can be really, really difficult, like death, like job loss, like integrating families, like understanding your personality and what circumstances and situations may be best for you according to your individual personality. So things like that. So we talk a lot about popular culture topics that you all can relate to and tie it back to how we can all, including myself, use therapy. Y'all know I got 3 therapists. I got my regular weekly talk therapist. I got my EMDR trauma therapist. And I have Yellowbird's very own massage therapist, the Reiki Garden, Tyra B. So yeah, all the therapies. And I got to have it as a business owner, as a therapist, as someone managing mental illness myself. I have to have all the therapies lined up, done regularly, and that's just on period poo. All right, so this evening, we got number 2 coming on in the Yellowbird Nation. This therapist number 2. I do not count myself in this number, guys. If I did, it would be number 3. But I only count my other therapists because I'm just like, I don't know why I don't count myself as if I'm not still doing sessions. But anyway, this is number 2. Y'all know we're on number 8. Y'all met number 8 last week, but this is number 2. The real deal Holyfield, who's been around since the beginning, gonna help us facilitate this discussion about what is an empath. Are you an empath? Empathy versus being highly sensitive versus being empathetic, and the like. So, without further ado, hold on. Let me click you in. Without further ado, and y'all please share this live. Please share this live because this can really benefit. That was bugging me. I want y'all to see it. I want y'all to see the banner. Okay? But it could benefit someone, and someone could be very much dealing with these or have these questions for their self. So please share the live, interact, ask your questions. And without further ado,
Hello.
Bridgette.
Hello.
What's up, Bridgette?
Thursday before Easter, so family.
Wait, what?
I said, family. This is a good time to talk about empaths since we're talking about energies. And then, you're going to see your family this weekend. Maybe if you're religious,
Oh, yeah, it is Easter. Ooh, Lord. They're like, oh, that therapist is a heathen. Y'all, I knew it was Easter Sunday.
It's just not Sunday yet.
Right.
What
are you going to be making, Bridgette, I know you've got a whole...
Right. Oh, I'm actually just making a salad. I don't know how that happens.
That's it? You're not doing no Easter egg hunt. You're not doing...
Oh, yeah. I mean, I got to hook my friends up, my little people up. But yeah, I'll do some eggs. Although really, I pay for a Walmart grocery delivery. It's not very expensive. And I had like all this stuff delivered, and I was like, "This is so nice." Like,
that's the first time you had that done,
Bridgette? No. But all the Easter basket stuff. I didn't go out and buy stuff for that.
Oh, did they have things left?
Yeah.
Huh. Because they be running out of stuff.
They do. But I don't know. My kids are like, we buy them stuff they don't normally have, like soda. Like, we're just those people. So.
Oh, they don't drink soda? That's your kids? The kids that don't get red dye?
I don't like to use, they don't, but we don't buy it at the house. Or like we buy like sugar cereal that's going to rot their brains. And we give that, the Easter Bunny brings that. So.
Oh, okay. Thank the Easter Bunny for your kids' brains right now.
Well, I don't know if you can hear that right now. That's the reason they can't have too much sugar.
Bridgette and these kids, it is never a dull moment.
It is not. I'm
Ever.
sure something about like doesn't want to put his shoes away or something, but that's okay.
Oh,
We got this.
this is hurt.
Maybe you're an empath.
Right, I don't want to put my shoes away either.
Well, I don't know what
I can empathize.
Yeah.
So shoot, yeah, tell us. So you're like, let's do this topic. What was your like driving force behind this topic?
Oh, because I think I've been talking. I think it must be trending on TikTok or Instagram because I feel like I've been talking about it a lot. And a lot of people are like, yo, I'm an empath. And I'm like, let's break that down. Maybe, and actually I do think empaths probably go to therapy more than other people, but maybe. But
they have to.
Yeah. So I wanted to talk about it because I felt like I've been talking about it in therapy a lot, which makes sense. So
yeah. But for everybody to think they're empath, we just know that can't be the case.
No, I mean, I think it's probably, well, to get in the nuts and bolts, I actually think it's good because like it means everybody feels like, they have some ability to be empathetic, right? To care for other people's feelings, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you're like constantly bringing that sensory input onto yourself. So
I don't know though, because I saw a post from a therapist who described not an empath, but another type of woman with that could have empathic traits. And somebody commented under it who I know has a lot of trouble with empathy and remorse, talking about, oh, yeah, that's me. I'm like, is it? Because I don't think it is. But, so, people might be confused on if they're, and that's a good reason to go to therapy to really see what your sensitivity level is, or do you lack sensitivity?
Yeah.
So, because that person, I'm like, yeah, I don't think so. You struggle to be empathic at all. So for you to think that, no. Anyway,
I like real quick, I think probably certain situations, don't you think probably like certain situations we take on different roles? So like maybe in a certain friend group, we are the one that's the caretaker. So we look more like that. And then certain, I don't know.
And maybe for other people in their life could agree. They may treat them with more regard. I don't know.
Yeah.
Anywho, so you talk about how many people population-wise are actually empathic. All right.
I don't know. I didn't Google that. Did you Google that?
Girl, I got you. So okay. It's real small, and there hasn't been any like recent like statistical analysis of that. But as of 2007, which we know is super dated, but that's all we have. And I feel like it's probably less than this now, just based on the world events and the current climate. But I could be wrong. Maybe that's just me being jaded. 1 to 2% of the population.
I don't know. Do you actually think that maybe that after post-pandemic, we actually have more of them?
I don't know, because you saw how people was acting when we was really supposed to be keeping each other safe.
That's true. But I feel like people had more time to be alone and reflect and do some self-learning. Maybe not everybody. I know not everybody took that role, but I think like we were home and learning more about ourselves. And so I think
Definitely learning more about ourselves. Did it benefit a lot of people? Yes. Are there still some people that are the same as they were before?
Oh, absolutely. Or maybe worse. Yeah, we see that every day.
Worse. Yep. But
Yeah.
I don't know, just based on like that, the whole situation with the pandemic, people's responses to it, which was crazy to me. And then the police brutality situations and how we saw people kind of responding to that. I'm like, I just don't know if people have empathy. Like, if people have empathy at all. So, you know, I mean, 1% to 2%, I'm like, for me, I think it might be 0.5% of the population.
Maybe I'm just like too much. I don't know. Maybe I'm more of an optimist because, like, maybe I'm like, well, I think maybe it's more, but I don't know that. I have no idea. That's just me guessing.
Who knows?
That's my gut.
Since we don't have any current research on it, it leaves it open for opinion.
Yeah.
Definitely leaves it. But, however, for people that actually exhibit empathy, that was a little bit higher. It was about 20%, which I'm like, okay. But that was also in 2007. Who knows today? Who knows? So, yeah. Can you describe for us what actually is an empath?
Yep. So first, I'm going to give us a little bit of a vocabulary lesson, though.
Yay! I love vocabulary.
Who doesn't, right? So, you know, like real quick, if you all watched the last time I was on with Dominique, which was like a month or two ago, we talked about narcissist and we talked about love bombing. And it's crazy that we're talking about empaths today because they're kind of on a scale. Like narcissist is essentially the lack of empathy. And so the empath is essentially like the person who has like cares deeply all the time. So we want to throw the shout out to the narcissist and I guess. But you know, one of the things I actually thought was really interesting, and I went, is when I was like looking up, you know, whatever about this, and it was like a lot of empaths wonder if they're narcissists, like because they worry that they're not like reading other people's vibes, and you're like, I don't know. So, anyways, so we have a scale, an emotional sensitivity scale. We have like psychopaths, narcissists over here. And then we've got people that are like healthy, normal. Not that you can't be these things and healthy and normal, but like, you know, kind of.
Unless you're a narcissist or a psychopath. Like that.
No, like in the middle. Like if we're going to the middle, you have like people who have like more healthy, balanced amounts of empathy and emotions and things.
Yeah, like truly empathic people.
Yeah, just people who are, people, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then you have like empathic people, which means like you know, the difference between sympathy and empathy is if Dominique says, girl, I'm having such a bad day, I'd be like, oh, this sucks for you. That's sympathy. But if I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry, I feel that, that's empathy. So it's that you feel sorry for somebody versus you feel their vibe, right? Mm-hmm. That's an empath. So, okay, so then you have like empathy, which we all have some ability to do. And then you have a highly sensitive person, which if you see me, I talk about highly sensitive person a lot. I make a lot of my clients take the quiz. We talk about it a lot because it is like a little bit before you get to an empath and then you have an empath. So like empath is kind of like the most extreme of the scale on the like anti-narcissist, basically.
Mm-hmm. So the exact total opposite of the spectrum of a narcissist.
Yes, which makes sense why they're asking if they're narcissists. No.
Yeah.
And the narcissist will never ask if they're a narcissist. They probably would be like, girl, I'm an empath. And you'd be like,
I tell people, and I think I said it on the Love Bombing Live, I was like, if you say that you're a narcissist or you worry that you're a narcissist, you probably aren't one.
No. I mean, well, yeah, we talked about this last time. I mean, some know they're a narcissist. They, like they'll wear it as a badge. But yeah, if you're worried about it, you probably not, because you care that you actually care, which is the anti of narcissism. So, So then empath is basically like feeling other people's emotions, like feeling their vibes. Like if you walked up and you could just tell, you were like, hey, how you doing? And you're like, fine, because that's what we say. And you're like, you're fine. Like, that's how you might be an empath.
So. Yeah, if you kind of soak up like a sponge. I think of an empath as like
that's good.
If you put them in a surrounding, they're gonna absorb whatever's in that surrounding. So there's a difference between being a sponge and then just being aware. So when you're aware, you're more empathetic. Like if you could separate yourself, but if you're a sponge, you are soaking up whatever is around that is liquid to be absorbed. So yeah.
Like you're not just sad that you're not just like, oh, I'm sorry you had a bad day. I'm sad for you too. But you're like sad too. Like they're crying, you're crying, everybody's crying. That's how you, I like the sponge idea. That's great.
Yeah. And I'm like, man, I hope I'm not an empath because.
Why? No, there's some amazing things about being an empath.
That's rough. Right.
Well, it is if you don't have boundaries.
Yes. And develop. So for people that are empathetic, more so, maybe towards more like therapy level empathetic. I'll say that. Because then there's like people that could not be therapists or like, oh, I couldn't do that. How do you do that all day? But they could still be empathetic even though they can't be a therapist. But therapy level empathy is already a lot. So imagine if we absorbed.
It wouldn't last, right? You'd burn out if you weren't treating yourself, like, right? If you didn't have good skills.
Right. I know there's a lot of therapists, psychiatrists walking around saying they're empaths and they chose this field. And I'm just like, but a true empath, like truly absorbing, like to the point where you can physically feel someone else's pain in your body. That's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
But they really do need to be in therapy because that can, while that seems to be a super cool skill to have, that could take any normal human being out.
Well, and I think the other, like, where it becomes a problem too is that you pick up their emotions and you neglect your own emotions, right? Like you're getting their vibes, but then your vibes are not important. Or when you finally have some stuff, you don't let other people help you because like you're an empath. You're just there to give. If you're not giving, what are you? And I've had this conversation with, and I bet you have too. If I am not giving to someone else, what does that mean for me as a person? And I'm like, no, like
absorbing emotions is not your only purpose in life.
Absolutely. Yes.
So, it's just difficult.
I cannot answer that door right now. Thank you.
I love it. That's probably Gwen trying to get in. Is that Gwen?
I don't know if it's Gwen or Doyle. It's one of them.
I feel like if it was Doyle, he'd be more vocal about it.
He very could be. I can hear my husband on the other side talking to whoever's on the other side of the door. So I think it's probably. We're looking for the blanket. We need the blanket. We have our workout bike I don't use.
Woo! Is that a Peloton?
No, it's a Peloton, a fake Peloton. It's an Amazon Peloton. There is no blanket in this room.
Love it.
We just keep it real here.
We do that. I got Mr. Carter's little remote right here in case he try to act up. I got it.
Oh.
He's been very good for the last several lives.
That's good.
So basically, it's short for y'all. We're saying that empath, they feel it and they take it on. Whereas empathy, you can be considerate and value and see someone else's position, but you're not taking it on as your own emotion. You can just, understand it or have compassion for that person. That is empathy. But then the empath will just not only feel it, but they take it on too. So
yeah. And I think it's important what you said, and I had read that in my stuff too, about like it's not only emotional, but it can be physical, right? Like, and that may be the difference, because the difference between being an empathetic person, like I care and I can understand where you're walking through, and like you're throwing up. Maybe that one's not the best one, because
I've heard actual empaths say that. Like,
yeah,
I walk into I have clients that are like, I walk into a situation, I have whatever ache or pain, just out of nowhere.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, that's it.
So it's more than just emotions. Not that the emotions aren't enough, but it's like, not only do you have other people's emotions, you also get their physical pain.
And so then they got to learn how to start learning how to block those things, so it don't take them out or drive them into the ground. So yeah. So if you're not experiencing people's feelings physically, mentally, or emotionally to the point where you're absorbing them and having trouble differentiating them from your own, or just knowing that maybe you can differentiate them from your own, but you still feel it, then if that's not happening, you probably are more empathic, like as like an empathetic person more than an empath. That makes sense.
Yeah. So, and if you feel like I feel some of those, but I don't feel it to that extreme, I would totally tell you, Google hsperson.com. Am I a highly sensitive person? Like, because I think like that's probably where you fall if you're like, I'm not all the way over here of like feeling they're throwing up, I'm throwing up, but like I'm definitely having some, that's probably where you're at.
Some absorbance. So tell us about the highly sensitive person. What differentiates a highly sensitive person from an actual like full-blown empath?
No, I'm just kidding. First off, some people do not differentiate. They use it the same terms, but I don't think that's true. Well, first off, actually, real quick, if you're watching this and you don't go to Yellowbird, why don't you go to Yellowbird? But okay, it's cool. Maybe you don't go. Maybe you don't live in Alabama, so you don't go to Yellowbird.
Or the other 4 states we can see people in.
Okay, fine. You live in Alaska. I don't think
right. We're not up there yet.
There we go. But if you're watching this, we can't see you, and you go to your therapist and you're like, I watched this live on being an empath and I think I'm an empath. Like, is a psychology term, is not a diagnosis. Like, let's make sure that's clear. Not in the DSM, definitely like a cluster of traits that we see, but isn't like something that you're going to like go and get diagnosed. Like, we can't charge insurance or whatever. Right. So that's my first thing about it.
Right.
But I think the difference, and then also highly sensitive person isn't in the, like, it's not a diagnosis either, but I think it should be, but that's my unpopular therapy opinion. So
I think it should be too.
Yeah. Well, I think the difference between empath is like I think a highly sensitive person is more about your like stimuli and like your own internal stimuli. Like if you've got, like, if I wasn't in this session and my son was crying, I'm not going to cry with him, but I'm going to be like, oh, you're sad. What's going on? Let me talk to you about it. Whereas an empath would be like, I'm crying, you're crying, we're both crying. Like, so that's a lot of times the difference is like, you're still picking up the vibes. You still get like some sensory input, and like it can be too much, but it's not necessarily to that extreme of like out of control.
Right. Yeah. When I like, that's how I kind of described it when I was looking more into it, is that highly sensitive people, that it had more of an emphasis on the physical senses, like smell, touch,
stimuli. Yeah.
Like, so more, physical sensitivities They can also have the emotional sensitivities, but I just saw a heavier focus on like sensitive to sounds, maybe light sensitivity, smell sensitivity, people that are like, whoo, I can really like smell something, you know, down the street or 2 rooms away that might not be that strong, you know, things like that. And 2, maybe if you are experiencing those things and you're more introverted. So there's that piece, because, you know, there are empaths that are extroverted and introverted, but then there was a lot of emphasis on being introverted with the highly sensitive person.
Yeah, I did see that. Like most introverts, not all introverts are highly sensitive people, but most highly sensitive people are introverts, which makes sense because it's about the stimuli and it's about like getting overwhelmed and like, and it's not bad. Let's be really clear. Like if you are like an empath or an HSP and you have good boundaries and you have good self-care, like you could be like the best therapist, the best boss, the best wife, husband, whatever. Like if you have these traits and you take good care of yourself with it. But if you don't and you haven't been taking care of yourself with it, then it's going to be, I can't handle anything. I'm irritable. I'm frustrated. So
yeah.
Yeah.
And y'all please share this live again if you want to join us in the effort to break the stigma surrounding mental health and mental illness and only needing therapy if something's wrong with you. Please share this live because someone on your timeline is probably either really empathetic, highly sensitive, or maybe is an empath. You know what I'm saying? And they may need direction. So please share so that that person can get with us and we can work with them and help them manage and navigate their sensitivities that they have. So yes, definitely. So yeah, very susceptible to like Bridgette said, if your boundaries aren't great, having those characteristics, you will experience burnout very fast, and we don't want that.
Well, and I think the other thing that I read that hit me, which I do actually talk to my clients about, is like if you're an empath and you pick up somebody's vibes and you like suddenly start to really care a lot about them, but that's not being reciprocated, right? Like, so you're putting yourself out there and you're being like a good friend to them and you're being like a, you know, a sister, but they're not really treating you the same way. Like that's one of the other things, like, hey, maybe I'm an empath and like this could be a problem because honestly, Bestie, if you're that good of a friend where you're actually an aren't empath, you're a gift, right? Like you care about the people you care about. So you don't need to have any people who don't appreciate you.
Exactly.
But that could be one of the things is like you're out there and you're like, oh, I'm going to blah, 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 blah. And then you're not getting your energy met in that relationship. So.
And I tell my because I use the Enneagram a lot with my clients that helps them discover the positives and not so positive sides of their personality and how to manage that. So the type 2, they liken more of like the empath. They're not necessarily an empath, but they liken the empath in that way where they want to pour, give, pour. They like their deepest desire is to be loved and give. And so I'm like, you got to have, your boundaries might look a little bit more, maybe a little tighter than maybe people that aren't so impacted by other people's emotions or whatever, because you are, you know, a sensitive person. And there's nothing wrong with that. We use the term sensitive and people are like, oh, if you're sensitive, that means weak. No, sensitive means that you have an awareness to, like a heightened awareness to something. So if you're having a heightened awareness to other people's emotions, your own emotions, that can be a lot. So you have to make sure you're strategic about who you allow in your space, what spaces what spaces you allow yourself to be in, and know that that's going to help you keep yourself healthy so you can help the people that deserve your help. So yeah.
And you gotta be on the watch out for a narcissist.
They will spot you, they will sniff you
will. And they will take all you have to give and then tell you didn't give enough, even though you're giving too much.
Exactly. They will. You're not good enough, you're not this enough, you're not that enough, because
you're giving them more than you're even giving yourself.
Right. That's the most perfect supply for a narcissist is an empath.
Oh, yeah.
Lord, that's a kid in a candy store right there. Because on the other end of the spectrum, the narcissist who only sees people as a supply and an object. Man, it's just a bad situation. It's not good. It's not good. It's very dangerous for the empath. So, yes, you have to have very well-defined, consistent boundaries that you maintain. Otherwise, it could really affect you health-wise too. So, yep.
Another thing I found interesting, I don't know, Dominique, if this happens to you, it's no shade. If I happen to know you and you've done this to me, I love you, it's fine. But a lot of times people will come to me and they just tell you everything, right? Like, I don't know if it's just the vibe I give off, but not just clients, just like casual acquaintances, which is fine, right? That's why I give a safe vibe. But like, that is also might be a sign that you're an empath or that you're highly sensitive if you end up being the person that everybody just spills the tea to, even though you're like, I'm just shopping in the grocery store. Like, that's another sign. So, does that happen to you?
Yes, I saw a shirt, I think on Instagram, a therapist shirt that was like, I'm charging for this conversation or something. Because they will, as soon as you, and I don't even have to say I'm a therapist anymore.
No.
To the point where people just kind of just tell me what's going on with them.
Yes, yeah. But that's another sign. Like, if you could recognize that you're this person. It's funny. I have a client that I've had for the whole time I've been a Yellowbird. So like over a year now. And she says, I just have this face that people, I don't even know why I have this face, but people just come to her and talk to her. And I was like, you are highly sensitive. She may be an empath, but she's highly sensitive for sure.
Yep, it happens. So if that is you, get them boundaries together and monetize that.
I know. Go to therapy school.
Go to therapy school and monetize that. If that's
like you're already like a nurse, or
right, it's already who you are. So that just makes the job even that much easier.
There you go.
So yeah, so like Bridgette said, if you're the person that everybody always comes to, like a good listener, see if you have, we said this, struggles with boundaries, too much closeness or intimacy can be overwhelming. You might need a lot of space as a narcissist, or not a narcissist, as an empath.
But wouldn't you say, like, and this may be in my brain, another difference between highly sensitive and empath is you may need the space, but you would never ask for the space. Your partner may even say, I'm going to give you some space, like go take a bath and here's a piece of chocolate. And you're like, I'm good. I'm fine. I don't need it. So that might be, you need it. You do, but you might not want to take it. So.
Right. Yeah. If you're having trouble taking it, taking help, taking breaks, taking time for yourself,
even if you're like, I know I need to take self-care, and I tell my clients all the time, you're out of spoons. There's no, I don't know, do you use the spoon?
Yeah, the spoon thing. Yep.
Yeah, like there's not even spoons in the house anymore. but you won't take that break, you may be an empath. Like,
right. And there's another analogy. My licensure supervisor, he used to say, if you go around if you're a lumberjack trying to saw these trees down, you never stop to sharpen your blade, you might still be working at the same speed, but you're going to be a lot less productive because you have to spend so much more energy cutting a tree down.
That's a man analogy.
I loved it though. I was like,
oh,
sharpen that axe.
I've never had to. No, it's good. I've never had to like use to connect with somebody over lumberjacks, but maybe that's my new thing.
Well, if you ever have a man who's like, no, I just gotta keep going, keep producing, keep doing it, it's like you can do that, but it's actually counterproductive because if you don't stop to replenish yourself, you don't have anything else to give.
Yeah. And if you're an empath and you don't take care of yourself, or you're highly sensitive and you don't take care of yourself, you're just doing yourself harm more than you even realize, because you've got to take care of yourself as well.
So what are some boundaries that empaths may implement to help themselves?
Well, I think first, I use this analogy like in all of therapy, but definitely it works here, of the idea of like, if you're walking around and you're like, oh my gosh, there's a banana peel on the floor, which is a little silly, and you're like, oh, there's a banana peel. Or you just walking around and you slip on a banana peel. And you're like, oh, I'm on the floor. Why am I on the floor? And then you see a banana peel. And then you're walking around and you're like, I also use a different word for this sometimes that is not as live appropriate. Like, that's a little more gross. But you're walking around and you're like, oh, wait, that's a banana peel. Okay, I need to stop from being a banana peel. And then you're walking around and then you're like, oh, wait, like, oh, there's a banana on the counter. I'm going to go the other way. So kind of that awareness of recognizing your triggers and awareness of like knowing yourself. And this is where you were talking, Dom, I think about, well, you don't have to be in a crisis to get therapy. This is where I feel this 1,000,000%. You need to know yourself, and it's okay to know yourself, to be able to say, like, I need to take care of myself. This is my trigger. This is my thing. I was going to say toxic personality trait. I don't like that one as much, but like the thing. So that might be one of the things is like, if you're an empath, you need to have self-awareness to know what drains you. That's got to be your thing. And that's it. Empath, anxiety, depression, poor relationships, pretty much lots of things in therapy. And then another thing is, then you're going to have to know what fills you back up, right? Like, are you reading a book? Are you going for a run? Are you doing underwater basket weaving? Like, you got to know what fills you back up.
They got that? Is that a thing?
I don't know.
I'm like, underwater basket weaving? Like, that entail?
I don't even know if that's a thing, but actually, like, lately Gwen's like, so that's the other thing. If you all have watched my lives before, we've talked about my kids. My daughter is anxious and ADHD, and she's an HSP. She's a highly sensitive person. I've talked about it before. Hopefully I'm not like ruining the rest of her life, but that's sort of the reason where I got on this road of like realizing like that my daughter has these needs. Like, y'all, I love her, but tonight she was crying over the dishes because they were too gross and she couldn't touch them. And I was like, you got to do the dishes. I don't know what to tell you. Like, the feelings were real. So anyways, so we talk a lot about like Gwen, I don't care what you do. Cause she's lately is like, should I quit dance? Which is like her vibe. And I'm like, I don't care what you do. You could do underwater basket weaving, but you have to do something. You have to have self-care.
Right. Right. No, she got to keep dancing. She competing in everything.
She doesn't have to keep dancing. She can choose what she wants to do, but she does have to keep pouring into herself and learning like doing things. She has to do things.
Yeah.
I don't care what the things are, but she's got to do things. We're a things people.
Yeah. No, to have an outlet.
Yes, exactly.
whether
Exactly.
it's dance or something else. But if she's passionate about dance.
Well, I don't know if she is as much anymore. This is a whole other story. It's like, I can't tell if she's, because she's HSP, if she's dancing at this point. This is actually a great example of somebody who's an empath or an HSP. Are you doing it for you, or are you doing it for someone else? Or do you think you're doing it for someone else? Because like earlier in the year, she's like, I'm going to quit dance. I'm done dancing forever. And I was like, okay, I mean, whatever you want to do, you have to do something. I don't care if it's underwater basket weaving, you have to do something. But she also plays basketball. So I was like, you're fine. You can do whatever you want. And so, and then she's like, the whole year, I'm going to dance. I'm not going to dance. I'm going to dance. I'm not going to dance. And I'm like, are you doing it for you, or are you doing it because you think it's what I want? Because if you're an empath or a highly sensitive person, what are you actually doing to serve yourself, or doing because you think other people expect it of you? Taking it backwards. Yes.
Well, and she, with her being so young, desires and things do change.
Yes, absolutely.
Be really into something one day, and then the next day be like, not really feeling that.
I don't want her to think that she has to be, just because she's always been something, she always has to be something, right? Like, I want her to explore whatever it is she wants to do, as long as she's doing some type of like self-care, and for kids especially, like some type of activity, like you could be a pickleballer, but you got to do something. Like, so
pickleball is pretty neat. I was pretty good at that in PE. I was like, oh, I got the hang of it. Pickleball.
Right. But you can be whatever you want to be, because when we do this, like, well, first off, when we do it for ourselves, we're doing it for ourselves to like fill our tanks back up, to be good empaths, highly sensitive anybody's. But also, especially if you're a parent, you're teaching your kids like good self-care as well, right? And then when you encourage your kids, like, hey, you need to do something. And it's weird because friends all the time are like, how do you do this? How do you kids? Your kids are so busy. How do y'all do it? And I'm like, because it's an important value in our family of like being busy, finding out what you like, trying new things, filling out that tank of like activity.
Yeah. So. Yeah. And I mean, kids need that, because kids have they just have a lot of things going on with them, just growing up as little humans, about things they don't understand. So they need somewhere to express themselves.
Yeah. And I think, like, real quick on a empath kid, if you're a parent and you're like, hey, this isn't me, but this is my kid, which could happen, right? Like, most of the time, I think if you are an introvert, you're probably going to have kid introverts, not 100%, but probably. But I think it's really important too, if you're like, oh, is this my kid, that it so that you can serve it, because that is really how, before I even like kind of got that vibe with therapy, I started with my own kid, and I was like, oh, my child is a highly sensitive person. And but all kids think nobody likes them sometimes, and they feel big. But when your kid is a highly sensitive person or an empath, I mean, you need to know. It's an uphill battle. So.
Yeah, because they had to start learning boundaries real soon, and real, maybe more intensely than kids that maybe aren't, especially in this world. We got so
like the self-esteem stuff. Like, you gotta be on it, right?
Yeah. Y'all please share this live, because there is at least one empath or one highly sensitive person on your timeline or in your groups that would really benefit from being able to put a name with, or even know that that's something that they need therapy to help them navigate and manage, so that they can be healthy. So if you want to help us break the stigma surrounding mental health and mental illness and being a human being, Share this live. You have contributed to the greater good, and you have done your philanthropic act for the day. Okay.
I was like, where are we going with this? But you made it through, right?
Gotcha. Brought it full circle for you. All right. Cool. Well, what are some other, so therapy wise, where may a therapist start with an empath?
All right. So after you're working on awareness and self-care, you got to do those. And then that's probably going to take you a really long time, right? Because you got to work on, you also need to know your boundaries. And so y'all, I'm gonna talk about my boss. My boss uses the words healthy and unhealthy all the time. And I've started using therapy a lot, and it's really, really helpful of like, is this healthy for me as an empath? Is this unhealthy? Maybe that's particular relationships. Maybe that's job stuff. Maybe that's, even stuff that expectations you have of yourself. But that's the other thing is like understanding if this is serving me or not. And is it, like, how do I work through that and let go if it isn't? And how do I empower it if it is, if this is good for me? So.
Yep. You have to learn, like, again, because the biggest thing with a narcissist, why do I keep wanting to say narcissist? Empath. Narcissist is the other opposite end. But empath is not being able to make the delineation between yourself and others, especially like emotionally or physically. So having those boundaries are going to help you make the distinction between where you stop and someone else starts. And you may need therapy in order to learn those, because chances are if you're an empath, you have probably been taken advantage of a lot of times, unless you were like, had the most ideal situation where your parents, they just knew that that's what was going on with you so young. They put you in therapy and you started learning boundaries at 2 years old. Like, that's probably not.
If you're an empath, you were raised by an empath. I didn't know what the hell they were doing either, because we didn't even talk about it 20 years ago.
Right. There wasn't even a thing.
It was just, like I said, you may be raising another little empath and you're like, oh, hell.
Right. So, like, most of the time people didn't have that opportunity.
Yeah, to even like talk about like, this is my, this is something to work on, or this is like, we don't even, we just deal with it. We don't talk about those emotions. We just live. Those aren't for us. So
right. Or you have been shamed for the degree.
Oh yeah.
Oh, you're just so sensitive, or somebody has gaslit you. So it's just like that,
Well, why are you such a drama queen?
Right. All that. Yeah. When it's really just like who you are, but for your benefit, learning how to manage that for your own health is going to be good. So definitely you can come to us for that. We'll definitely help you out. You can come to Yellowbird. You go to yellowbirdcounseling.com. Again, that is Yellowbird, like giant bird, like this bird, counseling.com. We can get you set up with one of our
9
therapists. Yeah, several. Yeah, nine of us total. 9 of us. Probably won't be me. But it will be one of the other 8. I can assure you of that. It will be one of the other 8, and they are great. So definitely give us a call, give us an email, shoot us a text. And if you are not already on our newsletter, you want to be on the newsletter because you don't want to miss the $100 Cash App giveaways. So in order to know how to be eligible to win those $100 Cash App giveaways, you want to be on you want to subscribe to our email, all right, to our newsletter. So definitely go to yellowbirdcounseling.com and do that. Also, for those of you that may not know, we now service the states of Florida, Louisiana, Tennessee, Mississippi, and Alabama. So if you live in one of those 5 states and you want to come see about us virtually, you can. You can. And then we got some comments. So Toy said, that's deep, something to really think about. And then Natasha said she loves this. So good. Awesome. Y'all please share this live because it can really benefit somebody that really may need us and really may need help navigating that. Because that, again, to just even being a therapist, it's a lot. We enjoy what we do, helping people to be more successful, helping people through their trials and things like that. But to really feel that we got to have our own therapist. So if we got to have our own therapist to, make sure we're good, an empath also needs a therapist. So you got at least maybe one or a highly sensitive person, or if you interchange them, you've got that person on your timeline. So please share this live so that they know that there is relief. Awesome.
Well, and if that person can't take care of themselves, they're not going to go get therapy for it. Like, you got to encourage them. It's okay. Like, it's good. It's okay to have big feelings, and we can figure out how to do that and make that wonderful and not make that a burden. So
absolutely. Well, Bridgette, number 2, do you have any other remarks for the people that you want them to know about?
I was looking at my notes. Oh, it was while you were doing your thing. No, I think we've talked.
Well, good. Thank you so much, Bridgette. I know we're going to see you on again. Bridgette is our Caucasian therapist who is invited to the barbecue. She is the one.
And I'm ready to bring a dish.
But she understands to maybe, she can bring cupcakes and like the silverware and stuff like that. We kind of got to see about, the potato salad, macaroni salad situation.
No, I'm not going to bring that dish.
Okay. Because, it's like sometimes it be a little watery,
I could bring a watermelon or something.
Yeah. Perfect. See there? She already knows. Bring the watermelon. Will be good. But yes, all my African American people that come to me, work with Bridgette, they do enjoy her. She is very well aware of her whiteness and her privilege and microaggressions and all those things. So she is going to be very, very empathic, okay, to the Black experience. She does not know what it's like to be Black, but she can try to understand the plight. Okay.
Yeah. And first off, the one thing I will say is I can get awkward, which is good, right? Like if you need to, and you know better than I do, right? So like if you're like, I don't know, it's okay. You can try it out. If you don't like it, that's okay too. So like,
right. It's cool. She's okay if you have to correct her. If she says something that's weird, she is okay with you correcting her, and she is open to that. So I feel very safe sending my POC people to her.
I won't lie, I was like, a POC?
People of color.
I got it. It processed.
Cool. All right, Bridgette. Well, thank you so much. I'm going to let you tend to whoever was knocking on the door. Bye.
Bye.
Also, yes. Please subscribe to the Yellowbird Counseling newsletter so that you'll know when we do our $100 cash app giveaways. Also, you'll know when we do our groups. Also, you'll know live discussions that we're talking about. Also, you'll know discount codes. This is not a shirt that you can buy. This is the Black Wellness Expo shirt, Yellowbird Counseling's first event, where we had massage therapy, mental health consultations, yoni steams, esthetician services. We had wellness vendors. It was a good time. It's going to be an annual event. So this was the shirt for this year. And I love it. But we do have other merch in our the YBC brand, formerly known as the Swag Shop. It may still be the Swag Shop, but we have renamed it the YBC brand. But we have tons of mental health t-shirts to help you break the stigma by saying it with your chest, okay? Or statements that encompass a mental health theme. So go take a look, yellowbirdcounseling.com. It's either under the Swag Shop or the YBC brand, maybe under swag still. So take a look at it, get you some gear. We do definitely have a promotion going for our Progress Over Perfection shirt, discount with that. So, yeah, love you guys. We will have another Yellowbird ambassador coming on to discuss a different topic with us next week. We go live every Thursday at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time, which is 9 p.m. Eastern, which is 6 p.m. Pacific. But I believe that we're going to try Wednesdays next month because there was a lot of Thursday scheduling conflict. So we're going to try Wednesdays next month. So just a heads up, it'll also be in the newsletter. So stay tuned. But in the meantime, get yourself a therapist if you don't already have one. And if you do have one, schedule a session. And if you've done those things, give yourself a pat on the back. All right. Talk to you soon. Bye.